Match 1. The Steiners versus Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Hughes back again.
You like Mr. Hughes?
I do like Mr. Hughes. I just don't know what he is.
No.
Just a man. It's just a man.
It is a gimmick that is just, I've got some glasses on,
Yes.
isn't it? I wear sunnies to wrestling.
Yeah.
No one else does this because it's dangerous. But I do. The Steiners here they've been working in Japan over the last couple of months.
And come back calloused.
Well, they're very much, the Japanese they love the brutality of the Steiners. And the Steiners note that and they go, oh, the brutality, that's interesting. They're really into that. All wrestlers like working in Japan because the schedule is very easy. They're treated very well. And really, if you're one of those tough, big, rough men, you will get over there in a way that you don't in America. What's happened here is they obviously want to go back to Japan because it's a great payday.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're going, we're not going to look weak in America because that will affect our Japan payday.
Yeah, whether we win or lose, we're going to hurt somebody.
Exactly. What you've got in the other corner is Vader as well.
Who is a very similar
Vader,
man.
exactly the same boat. Exactly the same boat. Vader is beginning to now come to a sort of more of an agreement with WCW that he'll be there far more often.
Yeah.
So he makes his main living in Japan. At this point, he's now going, well, do you know what? I could have a big run in WCW. So they introduce him here really to sort of go, he is here to stay. And they go, well, to do that, you need quite a dominant performance. If you are stuck between the Steiners and Vader and you're Mr. Hughes, you'd look at that and you just go, what's my role in this?
You'd be like, I kind of know how this is
Am
I going to lose an ear like Mick Foley?
Am I the big ragdoll boy? Yes, you're the big ragdoll boy. And they chuck him around. What's really funny is Mr. Hughes is big. And normally as a big wrestler, you do your power moves.
Yeah.
And Rick Steiner, as the good guy, would have to fight those impossible odds to sort of eventually get you off your feet. This opens with Rick Steiner just throwing him. Just throws him. And all the jeopardy is gone. And Mr. Hughes must just be thinking, how long did they book this for? 16 minutes. This is going to be a nightmare. A great, exciting match. That thing of K. Allen Fry, his $5,000 thing. I mean, it puts that on the table.
That's all it took.
And he says to the Steiners and Vader, $5,000 for you lads. All you've got to do is pick it up. And you suddenly realise that Mr. Hughes is lying on the money. And they've got to reach through his fucking chest to get to the money. And that's what they're doing. What's annoying about that $5,000 is I have not been able to find out which match got
it. Yeah,
the $5,000.
You think that you'd find out at some point.
Yeah, it didn't seem to come out, but
maybe it didn't exist.
I mean, I have a feeling things are always going to be weighted towards the main event.
The people they want to keep nice.
You'd be hard pressed to say the main event isn't the best match here, but then if you were Vader, you'd also go, yes, but you gave them 20 minutes and they were on last. Yes. So, I mean, look, Mr. Hughes' head and I would like to know if we can have some money.
It turns out you can put a bruise in the same place. It's double bruises everywhere.
You keep doing it, and it weirdly gets lighter.
Yeah.
But then it gets very much darker.
It's the space between Vader's nipple and the top of his shoulder is gigantic. And that felt very much like this podcast.
Sometimes when I see Vader, I do think I would like to make him into steaks. They'd be so firm. Just amazing.
Well, I like looking at pictures of his son. It's a Jake Carter.
Yeah.
The wrestler. He's got this similar, I'm obsessed with Vader's nipples, very low down. He's got very long pectoral muscles. And his nipples are really low down.
One of these low nip boys, eh? I see you. Hey, give me a holler if you're one of my low nip boys.
Does this feel fake? The Q80 man. Does this feel fake?
Coming up on the hotline, I'll be telling you how you can get low nipples. There's a little advert in the middle of this where they say, Ricky Steamboat is live on the wrestling hotline.
Yes.
Call now and talk until 25 past the hour.
From 8 in the evening to 25 past.
Yes.
Don't make it a half an hour. 25 and he's gone.
Yeah.
25 and he's gone.
That was a huge part of the wrestling industry in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I did get in trouble with my dad when I was probably about 15. I was so desperate to find out the results of, I think it was like a Great American Bash. That I went on it and you had to, you need to get the bill payer's permission. I was like, this is eating into the time. Yeah. I'd be looking at a watch going,
so
if I can get out of this before
how's
59.
Yeah.
Yes. And it would the length of the menus.
Yeah.
I mean, properly 16 different things.
Taking the piss. Well, we have to get through the menu. It's like, I know, just let me press the button.
Yeah.
It was like
so,
video game.
Are you ready, wrestling fans? What do you want to hear?
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
What? I mean, it is like...
Oh, fans. Have we got... You'd press the button.
Yeah.
Deep, doop. like that, and
Yeah,
it
it'd
would
be
go,
blocked off. It would
dun,
go-
dun, 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 dun. Hey, you're the number one wrestling fan, and we're going to bring you the results. Right, you're going to love... it's one of the things, actually, in collecting circles that people are most... There are two things that people want. One is the pay-per-view commentaries that they used to do on radio. And they do them quite a lot for the armed services and things like that. And people are like, there's alternate calls by Jim Ross before Jim Ross was the main guy in WWF, where he's doing pay-per-views that, you've never seen before. And people are like, I would love to hear that. Hear how they did it when you couldn't see a picture. But the other one is the hotlines. And the hotlines, I mean, it just seems like if you were working at WCW in 1995 and they were like, shall we archive all of the hotlines? You'd be like, mate, I haven't recorded any of them. They go out and I literally throw them in the bin.
They're on one tape. And if the tape dies, I've got to get Jim Ross to do some more.
Yeah. I don't want to speak to him. He stinks. Barbecue sauce? No. Just B.O. Needless picking on Jim Ross this show.
Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell, along with my buddy Gordon Soley, and we're ready to talk to you about Clash of Champions, coming up Wednesday night, originating Macon, Georgia. And Gordon, as usual, we got the choice spot. We get to call it all and be able to tell everybody on the 900 number what's happening.
We do indeed, Lance, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be a tremendous night of competition. I'm really excited about several matches that are going to be taking place.
Richard Morton versus Johnny B. Bad. Light heavyweight contender match here. I don't think either of them ended up having a match with Jushin Liger, who was the champion.
Right.
So, I mean, it was pointless.
Yeah, they did a little kind of like advert for the next pay-per-view in which Jushin Liger is involved. A great
That's
Japanese
right.
kind of 90s theme tune as well.
Oh,
beautiful. Oh, fantastic.
But you can hear it on YouTube. You don't have to rely on that, clipping that and going, oh, it is good.
Great aerial skills. Then he went back to Japan in front of 65,000 fans as the light heavyweight champion of the world. He is quite a hero over there.
They showed Jushin Liger right at the start of this at a house show on Christmas Day where he beat Brian Pillman for the belt. I said on the Starrcade episodes that house show had not been recorded. I don't think it was. I think they did do a little brief bit of going, let's do this match because there's a title change.
Right.
But they show in that clip Jushin Liger doing a suicide dive. But he jumps out, and what they show is they just show that Brian Pillman's too far away. Jushin Liger just lands flat on his back. And they don't treat it like what a terrible bit. They're like, look how good this guy is. And he basically just throws himself onto the floor, and they just go, incredible. It's such a nasty fall. But then I also have that thing where I sort of go, they're putting that in to sort of go, look at this fucking
Look at
guy.
this, he thinks.
Look at this. You think he's fucking... We're paying him a lot of money. Look, fucking prick. I'm never quite sure. Richard Morton is in the middle of this long, shitty singles run that is much, much longer than I remembered. It's been going on for 18 months now, where he's broken up from his partner in the Rock and Roll Express. But he is much better in this match than I think the 6 or 8 times we've seen him previously. He's still not very good. He has just lost the will to work here. He's just, it's almost like he can't wrestle people who are of a different generation.
Yeah.
In the 80s, he could wrestle with anyone. And it's almost like there's this funny bit here where I don't know what it is, whether they just don't know the basics in the way that he does, that he just seems to have difficulty with everyone he's in the ring with.
Yeah.
He is still wrestling today, wrestling, big stars and performing brilliantly for a man of his advanced years. I mean, he is a grandfather. I think he's, mid-60s. But he is a proper treasure. It's just really weird that at this period he has this dip in his career that is so noticeable when you go back.
Yeah.
It's not just like, he's not having his glory days. He really finds it difficult to work with people. I don't know what it is. Out comes Johnny B. Bad. He is just the best thing in the lower matches on WCW every single time we see him.
He is just, there's a lovely moment where a little girl is shouting for Johnny B. Bad.
It's so good.
What an icon. I just think he's fantastic.
She's wearing a feather boa, and what she wants to do, she's got $1 in her hand.
Yes.
And they had a little gimmick where Johnny B. Bad, people would put dollar bills in his garter.
Oh, like he's a
good gimmick
stripper.
to have, isn't it? I'd be up for that one.
That'd bolster your fee, wouldn't
But
it?
what a fucking subversion of gender norms, where out comes a heterosexual man who is playing a bisexual man of colour, and he comes down and he's a real man in a masculine world, and an infant girl child attempts to pay him money like she's some kind of horrible bloated plutocrat in a strip club. I was like, this is phenomenal. I'm loving this on every level. The match itself, Ricky Morton can't click it for some reason. Johnny B. Bad grabs at one point, he just grabs his head to sort of just throw it into the floor, which actually is a move you never really see because it slightly suggests you don't know quite what to do. And on this show, it happens about 5 times. All different people just grabbing people's heads and going, go down, like that. He does that. Morton is obviously not quite expecting it, and he goes down very fucking fast. You know, sometimes when you're in the wrong position and you go down faster than you would if you just fell.
Yeah.
It's like he somehow begins accelerating over about 30 centimetres, much too quickly. And I did think he was going to do some damage to himself there. The ending is all fucked up. I watched it again and again to work out what happens. I think Richard Morton does a crossbody block and Johnny B. Bad rolls through and he pins him. But Johnny B. Bad is very, very close to the ropes, if not under them, which would be a natural break. And what happens is, couldn't work out what happened. It's like, Richard Morton kicked out and they carried on the count. They didn't. I've watched it again and again. It took me so long to work out what happened because it's so wrong. What happens is the referee jumps in and he counts to 2 and then he signals for the bell.
Right. Okay.
He doesn't do a 3 count.
Yeah.
So he goes 1, 2, ring the bell, like that. And you can see Richard Morton just going, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I absolutely weird.
Was it even supposed to end then? If the referee ended it prematurely?
I don't know. I think, the referee's just sort of gone, wrestling's had a good run, but I'm going to fucking reinvent it right here. I'm going to make it a 2 count. And that is, you can see Richard Morton is genuinely like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? It's just a mess. What's sort of amazing is how, you don't really notice it. You sort of watch it and you go, Richard Morton fucked up. And then when you're going back, you're like, oh, no. You know, what I did notice about this that I loved is, obviously, he wears the bandanas. Part of the problem they had with him, they made him a sort of bad guy, but they never changed him out of the outfit that he'd been wearing for the whole of his career when he was beloved. And so you were never quite sure why they didn't make that change, properly. What he has on is he has on his neon green tights, he's got a bandana hanging there. And the Rock and Roll Express always had bandanas. So I thought, naturally, Pete, you would like us to talk about the possibly fictional 1970s American homosexual handkerchief code.
Oh, yes, I would. Yes. I'm a big fan of that. Kind of like if you put different coloured handkerchiefs in different pockets, it meant different things, receiving, giving.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So, for example, if you saw a chap wearing a bandana that was black, you would be able to instantly know he was into S&M.
Right, okay, yeah.
2 different ones for blue. Again, you need to have different colours because it is that thing about when you get back and you're sort of going, I honestly thought that was light blue. and you're like, that is
disco lighting.
Yeah.
It sometimes mixes the reds and the greens for me.
This is
colourblind people.
Exactly.
It's a nightmare.
Just write what you want to do on your forehead. So, yeah, dark blue, anal sex, light blue, oral sex.
Right.
Brown is scat. Green, hustler or prostitution.
Oh.
Purple is piercing as well, which I suppose
Nice.
in 1964 was a very, you think nowadays, this bloody generation, they'd all have to wear
all over the gaff.
bloody purple bandana. Yeah. Red is fisting. Probably less need for that.
Yeah.
And yellow naturally is water sports, and that is the colour that Richard Morton is wearing.
Oh, so you're right. Okay.
I knew I had a point at the end of it. I knew I had a point.
He's into it. I'm just saying that if he went into certain bars, he might be propositioned in a way he might not expect.
Look, I don't think he's unaware of the fact he's on television. This is a sick thrill for the man. I did spend my entire time through the rest of this pay-per-view going, please someone be wearing a red bandana. Please someone be wearing a red bandana.
Hogan oscillated between red and yellow bandanas, didn't he?
He did.
So
Fisty water sport, I call him. There's probably not a bandana for I also say racial abuse during my sex tape, is there?
No.
Maybe there should be.
Lasagna. Did he eat lasagna? I shouldn't recall that. I've eaten too much, just saying.
It was something very heavy and dense.
Yeah, bolognese or something.
Yeah. Oh, the sexiest food. Lasagna.
Hey, look at that.
Party time.
It's party time. Roll them right onto your hot dog bun.
I've got to have one of those hot dogs.
All righty, here you go, Hulk. Tell me how this tastes.
Mm-hmm.